Hey, today we're gonna be talking about a recently released Craft the World DLC titled Heart of Evil. This DLC promises a new campaign level for experienced players, and it definitely delivers. How challenging is it? Unreasonably, I'd say. There's definitely a difference between something being challenging and straight up unfair. Some parts of this DLC, especially the swarms of gargoyles and mages, are straight up sucking the life out of me whenever I face them. But to give some credit where credit is due, the boss mechanic and the difficulty of said boss fight is balanced fairly well. You can't expect to just crush the boss in one decisive attack without any losses. You have to slowly wear him down, which seems like a good approach to me. It helps reinforce the idea that you really are facing a powerful being. This part might sound very intriguing to you, and rightfully so. You get thrown into the middle of an ongoing battle, trying to secure your almost overrun fortress against an unrelenting enemy. The skirmishes are happening at almost every corner, and losses are inevitable. Later on, you and your AI allies gather raiding parties to hit the enemy where it hurts the most. What's there to hate about all this? Well, if you never played the game, it might come off as a surprise to you, but the problem is AI. In the base game, the AI can get pretty annoying sometimes, but here and in the Lonely Mountain DLC it gets much worse. That's especially annoying since your success depends on said AI and its ability to act upon your orders. I don't need the AI archers to guide their enemies like an LCK80 carry player on crack. I need them to listen to a simple fallback order. Do they? Of course they do, but only after a good dozen seconds of freezing and thinking about the general idea of retreating and whether they're not betraying their brothers, families, ancestors, and ideals by doing so. And, oh, never mind, they're dead now, no need to retreat anymore. This part is kinda accurate, except not really. The idea is awesome, the execution, well, not that great. When it comes to defending, they're definitely a valuable asset, again, to a certain degree. But when it comes to expanding and attacking, it all comes down to the rare simple AI just not being up to the task. Often focusing some control crystals instead of the attackers that have been continuously electrocuting them for the past few minutes. They also don't really take part in liberating the fallen parts of your fortress, so all of that is left for you to deal with. I would love to see them try to reconquer the lost parts of the fort, maybe even trying to build some outposts when they do that. But again, none of that happening. So, what about this part? New enemies. I counted 2. There are some new items, but I'm pretty sure I already saw some of them in Lonely Mountain DLC. Structures? Yeah, probably. Again, saw some of them in Lonely Mountain, and some of the building blocks are truly new, I think. Overall, the most new things can be found in the enemy fortress, and that just reinforces the strong point of this DLC, exploration. Exploring the enemy fortress is exciting, trying to find out what exactly is happening there and what secrets does the Dark Lord hide in his majestic fortress. This was a little analysis of what the DLC promises, but as you probably noticed, I was pretty negative. Don't worry, it's not all bad. Let's talk about the good stuff. Design. Design of this whole map is pretty good. We get new background, 2 different fortresses and some weird pastures in front of our fortress, and a swamp on the other side divided by a broken bridge. There are siege weapons on both forts that are constantly firing to create a sense of constant conflict, although they don't really break any blocks, and I suspect they're one of the reasons for the lower FPS I get on this map. That said, they definitely look cool. There are also facilities inside the enemy fortress where you can see how a lot of enemies come to be, which is one of the coolest things on the map, if not in the game. Exploration. This ties into my previous point. Discovering all of this stuff is super fun, and it is the main reason why you should be interested in this DLC. Remember, this DLC is not your traditional craft the world. It's more of a explore and conquer the world. This one is kind of weird, because there definitely is an attempt on story, which is something I was missing in the Lonely Mountain. The problem is that the story is there, but it's just the absolute basics. But hey, I appreciate the inclusion. And I'm hoping that if a similar DLC should come out, it will have an even better and more developed story. Now, a little spoiler alert, after a while of playing, you find out that the bad guy is directly responsible for all the invasions throughout the whole game. All the waves in every world are following this guy's orders. This just makes it even sadder that you don't really get that much story in this, because you're facing the ultimate evil in all the game. Now, I'd like to mention a little side note or two before I conclude this video. I did finish DLC, theoretically. The game, at least as far as I'm concerned, got bugged for me, and I either didn't get the drops I was supposed to, or it bugged and I never got to fight the final form of the boss. Either way, I still take that as completing the world, and I don't think that not encountering this bug would change this review. The chances are that the bugs are already fixed by the time some of you guys play through it, so I guess it's not that relevant in the end, but I still wanted to mention it. Another thing I like to say is that the performance seems to be much worse than on any other map, so keep that in mind. Finally, I think it's time for a conclusion. The DLC is priced at 5.69 euros, having the same price tag as the Lonely Mountain DLC. This DLC's strong points are exploration and conquering, and thus you should buy it if you're looking for an interesting twist on the classic Craft the World. I have to repeat that the AI seems to be actually worse than in the rest of the game, and I would advise you to play with that in mind, and to expect a lot of losses simply because the game fucks you over. That said, if you want to support the developers or get some new Craft the World content, go for it. If you're not a diehard fan, consider buying some other DLCs that improve the base game. If you're still not sure about your purchase, consider checking out my Heart of Evil series, where I completed the DLC and draw your conclusions then. This will be all for me today. I'm glad you watched the video up until the end. If you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like, comment, and possibly even a subscribe if you want to get notified about my future uploads. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and goodbye.